Today's topic is this. I'm going to tell you how to keep talented people under you from leaving. You really don't want them to leave. What happens if they leave right after joining your team? It's a disaster. So what's important here? The most important thing is first, don't try to teach them. You know how they always say, don't meddle? This is really important. On top of that, I want to add, don't even try to teach them. There's something Crown Master Che Nap-gyun once said at a seminar a long time ago. He said this, never try to teach them. Why? Then when should you teach them? In places like this seminar, when there are a lot of people, everyone has already experienced the same things. No matter what you say, it just doesn't hit home because people don't think it's about them. Since you're telling a story that everyone can relate to subjectively, the impact is actually a bit less. But if I speak directly to that person, and I do it with the intention of helping them succeed, it absolutely doesn't work everyone. It completely backfires. So earlier, when the daughter of the partner CEO called me just a moment ago and asked, is there anything I need to learn? She just asked me that just now. But what do you think I said? I told her she was doing great. Honestly, she really was doing great because I found it so admirable. From the beginning, I thought it wasn't the right time to have her start a business, so I just took it lightly, thinking she'd probably give up halfway. Why? Because having something is better than having nothing. But I didn't actually teach her anything. I just made her feel comfortable and told her, do it however you want. So what happened? She could do it if she wanted or stop if she didn't. So she started researching on her own. She started to sense that there was money to be made here. That's why now she keeps getting calls first. And every time that happens, she gets more curious and starts to want it more. Now she even says it herself. She says, I'm getting greedy. So she asked me if there's anything I can teach her. She asked if there's anything more she should be doing. And what did I say? I told her there was nothing to teach her because I was so proud. But there was one thing I did teach her, to come to the seminar. Even if you don't know anything else about the seminar, since you're working, just invest in attending once a month. That way you can experience the atmosphere for yourself. And I told her, you need to replicate the easiest thing. And she said, oh, I'm going to bring someone now. That's what she said. So what did I do well, everyone? When she said she wanted to learn, did I just think, oh, now I'm set and leave her alone? No, I didn't. I praised her for doing well. They say even whales dance when they're praised. So ultimately, it's the leader's job to make that person want to do it, everyone. There's really nothing special about this mentor. What keeps people staying is this. I need to have something that makes that person respect me enough to want to follow me. But just because I'm teaching someone, that doesn't automatically mean they'll respect me. That person has to like me. I think this is kind of similar to being a celebrity. Fan loyalty. Fans go to Lim Young-woong's concerts even if he just sings. Does Lim Young-woong pay them? It's just that his singing feels like he really understands your heart and you just like it for what it is. And then you hear that Lim Young-woong is a devoted son too. People help him out just because they like him so much. And he holds concerts too. It's kind of like that. It's good to be conscious of this, almost like being a celebrity is your job. So everyone, don't just say whatever is on your mind. When should you do that? When you have complete control of the situation. So what does it mean to have control? It means your partner is making money, so they think, damn, I can't do without this. When your own business is running on autopilot, I'm not talking about manual, but when your sales are really taking off and things are running automatically, only then will you not quit. Even if you say something harsh when things aren't going so well, people will listen. Why is that? Because at that point, they realize how important teamwork is, thanks to the pressure from sponsors and the need for reapproval. But how is it now? No one knows. Because no one knows, never try to teach them. You understand, right? So what will happen then? Your partner might start asking you for help or relying on you, right? I think it's best for us to just be like Musu. We always say we should be like Musu, but if we say that and then act like the queen, does that make sense? For example, let's say you're on the phone with your partner and they ask, hey, can you do this for me? In that case, it's okay to help them out once or twice. You can say, sure, I know you're busy, so I'll take care of it. That's fine. But if it becomes a habit and you start worrying too much, thinking, if this keeps up, They won't be able to do it themselves. They won't be able to replicate it. And you start telling them, you try it, do it like this. There are people who do that, but never do that. There will come a point when that person realizes they need to do it themselves. The timing may be different for everyone, but once the thought, I really need to make money here, truly settles deep in their heart, if they make a strong decision, they will learn. At that moment, you understand what I mean, right? Even though I was a center manager for 3 years, I didn't teach them. Why? Because they said they didn't like things that were too complicated. But back then, there was only one center, and I always thought, oh, it's difficult for them right now. It's really tough. But if this person does well, it'll be fine. So I just kept pushing forward. But how is it now? Will that person leave? They don't leave at all. That's what's really important. What I'm proud of is that from the very beginning of my business until now, not a single person has quit. Some people might take a break, sure. There are even people who think, oh, I shouldn't have become a sponsor. Or people who just brush it off and think it's nothing. But then quietly, they place another order for products. So quietly, they order again. And quietly, they contact me again. Charlotte's massage, I'm going to work hard. I'm really going to do my best. So, what did I do well? It just means I waited for them without saying anything. I didn't argue. I just did what I had to do. Even if you clash with them, there's really nothing to gain from it. If you say, I did it this way, but you can't, at that point, they'll really leave for good. Especially for women, since they're more emotional. Even if they know there's money to be made, they'll say, I don't like that person, so I want to quit. There are so many cases like this. So, since there are a lot of women in this field, sometimes quietly and patiently waiting can actually be the right answer. You understand, right? It's just that on that day, I was really angry by myself. You might get all worked up by yourself, imagining the dramatic finale. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to quit. That can happen. But if I just quietly keep doing my job, then eventually they'll come back quietly thinking, that's right, our Charlotte Watson went through a lot. I shouldn't act like this. When that happens, just accept them generously. Act like nothing happened. Some people say things like, you're dead to me now, but don't do that, okay? You understand, right? So we always need to be grateful. You understand, right? Now, there are people like this, right? How long do I have to keep being the one who does all the work? There are people who feel this way. How long do you have to keep doing it? This is what I think. You should keep doing it until you are recognized as a sponsor. In the end, our sponsor is truly amazing, and I want to learn from that person. Then you start to feel respect for them. And when that happens, that person learns. At that point, even if you teach them little by little, they'll say, yes, yes, I'll do it like that, and just follow your instructions. But if there's no respect, it turns into power tripping and being a know-it-all. You know what I mean, right? It's a very fine line, even if you teach the exact same way. Depending on how the other person feels, it can become respect or it can become power tripping. So, whose fault is it? It's my fault. I have to do well. In the end, that's how you can be a good partner. So when do you earn respect? You always earn respect when you're better than the other person. If you start thinking, my sponsor is making money because of me, then you begin to disregard them from the start. You start trying to do things your own way, throwing tantrums and acting out. But if you think that your sponsor is better than you in every way, whether it's their ability to support, counsel, or grow the organization, then your attitude shifts to respect. You start worrying, what if my sponsor abandons me? And in fact, you end up saying things like, oh, sponsor, your business is so much fun. I really enjoyed it. But recently, I've been under a lot of stress too. When your business does well, my sales explode, right? Even then, do you think there's no stress for someone in that position? Or is there? Of course there is. So I want to vent to someone too. But what I realized is that for women, when they talk, they're not asking you to solve their problem. They just want to talk it out. Since I know that when my partners talk to me, I just listen and let it go in one ear and out the other. Why? They just want you to listen. You're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great. But even that takes energy, you know. But recently, I was so stressed out myself that I ended up venting all of this to Imperial. But I don't think Imperial had the energy for it. Right now in China, maybe he was feeling sensitive or tired, but he started explaining things to me. But I wasn't asking for an explanation. I'm going to solve it myself anyway. I can handle it. I was just looking for a little comfort, but it turned into something it shouldn't have. So I thought, that's right, that's right. Oh, I wasn't being humble again. The opposite of gratitude is taking things for granted, and I realized that I was just acting like everything was a given, just going on and on without thinking. It hit me one day. I should only be sharing good news, but I slipped up. So I told Jongrenim, from now on, I'll only share good news with you, like I do with Empyrean. I'll only share good news with you from now on. But then they said, no, tell me everything. Tell me everything. No, it's okay. I've already heard all the news. At church, you haven't even been able to eat properly. And the part-time teacher said it's been really tough. Oh, I should be bringing you good news. I'll make sure to only share good news with you. But again, they said, no, but it's okay. There's someone who listens to everything I say. Then they asked, who is it? It's my dad. I have just my dad. He listens to everything I say. And they seem to really like that. You know, everyone, in a way, this is our business. For me too, with Imperial Nim, in a way, there's such a strong bond, almost like family. So I feel comfortable. And when I'm really stressed, people need to let it out somewhere. I even unleashed my nightmares, right? But then it ends up affecting someone else. So I wonder, where should I let this out? There's no way to let it out. I just can't relieve it. It keeps building up. So without even realizing it, when I brought up Imperialians, you tried to resolve the aftermath by talking to me, but that just made me even angrier. I couldn't let it out and it just kept piling up. Because you were trying to solve the problem, so you'd say, give me a book, give me a present, do this, do that. And then you tell me not to whine. Can this really be solved just in theory, everyone? So I thought, I was wrong. That was the wrong thing to say. So after things were resolved, I said, everything's been sorted out, and only shared good news. And do you know how I managed to end things on a good note at the end? I sent over my sales numbers and said, my stomach's about to burst. And then they said, Gina, it's because you did well. Gina, you're the best. And that made me feel even better. So do you know what it all comes down to in the end? You're doing great. You're doing so well. That's the real way to resolve things. Look, I'm not even asking for someone to solve my stress for me. What I really wanted was for someone to understand how I felt. But when I said I wouldn't call, it seems like Imperial started thinking a lot about it. I think he started to wonder if his way was wrong. He suddenly switched modes. He said, it's up to you. And after that, feeling good, I started sharing good news with him all the time. Again. These days he calls often, right? And then he was like, oh, what's up? It's going really smoothly. In the end, when you say nice things and give compliments, it makes the other person feel good and boosts their confidence, so they want to reach out more and do more. But you have to be able to judge that well. But you know, in the end, even that requires stamina. If you don't have the energy, then even if you want to listen, you just can't. At times like that, it might actually be better to just avoid it. Recently, I was so exhausted myself, so I was coming down with something like an air conditioner cold. My husband also caught a cold, and even our cats got sick. I didn't quite catch a cold, but my condition kept getting worse. I kept running a slight fever, getting irritable, and feeling sore as if I'd been hit. So no matter what someone said to me, I couldn't take it well. It all just felt annoying. When you're like this, and you try to keep calling or communicating with your partner, you need to have a generous heart, especially when there's conflict. But when you don't have the energy, it's actually better to avoid it. In those times, texting is a better way to communicate. That's also how you can last longer in Atomy, everyone. Why? I have to lead even more teams, right? I need to lead more and more teams, but I can't handle it all. My stamina has its limits and my body is hurting too. What should I do in times like that? Use your energy only when you really need to focus. And if you can be a little less focused on the rest, communicate everything by text. Do you understand what I mean? This is very important. And you know the flower pigs, right? How much system income do the flower pigs actually receive? Some people are curious about this. This is how I answer. It depends on that person's luck. They could end up being a lifetime sales master. Being a flower pig means even if I just stay still, Atomy works out well for me. Even if I do nothing, business partners appear on both sides, so the sales come in much more than expected. But for some people, for the top 2% of Atomy Best, even if they do nothing, people under them work really hard on the business, so they could reach 200. They could reach 400. They could even reach 10 million. That all depends on that person's luck. That's why we call them flower pigs in Korean. That refers to income that just keeps coming in automatically. Even if you do nothing, it's a system income where you receive commissions effortlessly. I'd like to put it this way. That person's luck. How does it change? Whether you end up as a lifetime sales master, a Sharon Rose master, a diamond master, or a star master, in other words, whether you make 2 million won, 4 million won, or even 10 million won a month, how is that decided? Let me show you. I'll draw it out for you on the whiteboard. You see, with Atomy, there are no membership or maintenance fees. Because there are no membership or maintenance fees, it all depends on which leader emerges. The sales volume on your left and right sides can also change, right? So the fate of your partners in your team can also change depending on who joins below them. Now let me show you. This is what I want you to see. Let's say there's me, A, B, C, D, but you know, sales master can succeed just through sales volume anyway. You can achieve it. But starting from Diamond Master, you have to nurture people. You have to help them grow in order for you to reach that rank. You need to have 2 sales masters on each side. So whether you like it or not, you have to find and help people under them. But as you keep doing this, sometimes A and B aren't really working hard, but talented people end up joining on both sides. This is really fascinating. People who are really good at this always end up under the most difficult people. They join under people who are really troublesome and exhausting. It's honestly so amazing. But if you think about it the other way, it's because of those difficult people that hardworking people like us can really shine. And people like us can be recognized as better people because of that. So let's try to turn things around and think positively. Why? Because it's a fate we can't change. There's no need to keep stressing over something that can't be helped. Anyway, I'm on my way to earning 100 million won a month. And to reach 100 million won a month in Korea, you need these kinds of people, no matter what. As you keep going, you'll see this is always my style. I said that maintaining your position when you challenge for a rank is all about the process. The challenge itself is just once. Because you need that one-time push. You just go through A, B, C, and D. But when it comes to maintaining it later, for example, let's say someone really hardworking appears under A on both sides. Then that person is likely to be a strong candidate for offer sales. Then I just keep leading them along. But for example, let's say another crazy hardworking person joins under C. Someone even stronger than the top performer under A. In that case, that's when I make a decision. This is exactly where the size of your vision, your capacity for drawing your own picture, shows itself. Those who dream of becoming Imperial Masters realize, now I need to go for Auto Sharon. You need 2 Auto Team leaders and an Auto Diamond Master, right? So you have to think about who that could be. Then there's only A. But when I think about it, C is weak. It's tough. If I try to develop someone under C, it'll take a long time. So what do you do then? The answer is you have to nurture A. That's why I always tell you to draw your lineage chart on a bigger scale. If you look at it from your own perspective, you won't feel upset. But if you don't look at it from your perspective and only focus on A without seeing the bigger picture, you'll get frustrated. You might think, hey, both sides under A are working so hard, so why is A just sitting there doing nothing? But as time goes by, there will come a day when you become an Auto Charlotte Master or an Auto Star Master. Then things will start to spread out within that structure. Then in this situation, several people will be able to maintain the Diamond Master rank, 3 people, 4 people, and so on, right? At times like this, the main player can change. When? From what I see, even at the Star Master level, the main player can change again. From there, the picture changes depending on how much the people below, the subordinates, can keep up with that person's capacity. And then the fate of my partners below me becomes, that person is destined to be a lifelong auto sales master. But even so, what about me? I made them succeed, didn't I? Since they became auto sales masters, everything turned out well. And when you keep building down 2 lines, in the end, if you look at the big picture, even the Imperial Master always says, if you look at the official payout, he raised 4 flower pigs on each side. He raised 4 of them. 2 on each side, and then kept building down under those 4. Under those 4, there are 3 Imperials and 35 Crown Masters. So in total, there are 38 people. In the end, within those 2 lines, he raised 4 flower pigs. Then the people connected under them only need to build a single line, right? That's why you don't need a lot of talented people. As long as you have one person, the people under them will each have a different capacity depending on their rank. Their styles are all different too. But in the end, all those connected people at least become sales masters. So I'm essentially helping a huge number of people succeed in creating jobs, as long as I don't quit. So in the end, as that Imperial made it all the way to Imperial, I'm grateful. Imperials come out, and the people connected along those 2 lines, the ones under those 2 flower branches, eventually all gain ranks. And as long as you don't give up, there are people who, even if they've been sales masters for years, just settle for being sponsors. But then, they realize their sponsor can do without them. So there are people who snap out of it and later start working hard again. Isn't that a good thing for you all? If you think about it that way, it's better than dropping out. That's why you all need to be good at this, being patient, waiting, and sticking together. But people can't stand it, so they keep making the people above them quit, then demote them, then make them quit again and demote them again. But that's actually really difficult. It might be easy to make 300,000 points from the bottom once, but try telling people to keep buying products. That's hard, it's not easy. And because we don't have a membership fee or maintenance fee, the structure keeps going down infinitely, generation after generation. So there are consumers who fit into that. There are regular users, part-timers, full-timers, and even some crazy people. That's why Atomy is a company that doesn't go under. And in the end, consumers like us keep sticking around. Loyal customers don't leave. Plus, the products are good and cheap. Especially when times are tough, people want to use products that are both good and affordable with great value for money. We think this is the right time. That's what it is. You get it, right? So that's fate. I believe it's that person's destiny. That's why I see it as that person's luck. When you listen to the Imperial Master's story now, right? Even so, because it's the Imperial Master, at least some Royal Masters, those flower pigs, do come out. Still, isn't that amazing? The person? If you're a Royal Master, that's at least 10 million, one or more. Everyone? So honestly, that's much better than anything else, isn't it? If it's Atomy, it's better to just go with the flow, right? But even within that, there must be some hidden talents, right? And then things get overwhelming and just start popping up everywhere. So the more people there are, the higher the chances become. And I think I understand what it means when they say it gets easier the higher you go. At first, I was the same. When I was doing it alone, it was really tough, just getting up to this point. But as I kept going, my partners really started to work automatically. We built teamwork, and I started meeting people who really understood the grip. That's when the sales started to skyrocket. Right now, I'm consistently handling 1.5 million points. And then I started seeing partners of mine who are now consistently handling 700,000 each. So do you know why you need to keep challenging yourself? Of course, I'm important, but you have to take on challenges for your partners as well. Why? Because if I just settle for being a sales master, my partner can only become, at best, a sales master, but even that doesn't really work out. They can only reach the very basic level. But if I want to become an Auto Sharon Rose Master or an Auto Imperial Master, my partners also have to eventually rise up to Imperial Master as well. So these days, since the data that the Imperial Master mentioned is showing up exactly as they said, I share my own data openly in my group chat room. As a result, the partners who have been with me for all this time see that. And because they trust me 100%, what happens next? They just follow exactly as I do. So even if I don't teach them directly, their mindset changes. They've seen how I act. That's why Director has grown like this, because they did things that way. That's why Sharon Oz Master has grown, because they did things that way. So they gain the confidence that, if I do it this way too, it'll work. Then, even if I don't say it's about time you take on a challenge, at some point they start envisioning their own partners. As they nurture others, they start thinking, I need to create this person into an auto seller. It's not about making someone become an emerald and move up, but rather, I need to help this person become successful. That's the mindset they develop. Everyone. Do you know how to avoid unnecessary complications in this business? You have to create it yourself. This business is a game of making gems. It's good to look for them too. But in this era, everything is so informatized that if you search just a little, you can find it right away. Then you think, what's this? What is this? I think this place is better. Even with our hospital, if people say it's good by word of mouth, everyone goes there. Hey, I heard they're really good here. Then everyone ends up going there. But it's the same with this as well. So then in the future, who will be the ones who succeed and survive anatomy? In the end, it will lean more toward those who can create gems. Why? Because creating gems ultimately means making sure my partner makes money, which is what our chairman wants.